Hi there. Thanks for joining me. So, we're going to talk about the Petito versus Laundrie lawsuit. And I came across some documents that I think you might be interested in. Why? Because they tell us, they're giving us clues to what the defenses that Brian Laundrie's parents and Stephen Bertolino are going to raise at trial, and the responses, more importantly, the responses to those, they're called affirmative defenses that the defendants have raised. So Gabby Petito's parents, I'll show you the document, have filed their responses to those affirmative defenses raised by, in other words, the reasons the defenses raised by Brian Laundrie's parents, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie, and Stephen Bernalino. Okay, and we're also going to take a look at what Stephen Bertolino has to say, what defenses he's raised, and the reply that Gabby Petito's parents have in response. Okay, so I hope I haven't confused you, but just follow along, you'll get it. So hi there, I'm Nichole Hagan. I'm a legal analyst and a former prosecutor. I'm a California lawyer, not a Florida lawyer, where this case is taking place in Florida. It's at Venice Courthouse in Florida. I think it's Sarasota. Anyway, the trial is scheduled for May 13th. So I thought these recent filings would be interesting to you because they're giving us clues as to what each side is gonna argue. Okay, so please do support my channel by subscribing. Hit that like button, do subscribe. And if you want to contribute to me making these videos, I'll put a PayPal link in the description box below the video. And also, I want to know what your analysis, because this video is simply my opinion. What's your analysis? What do you think about this? What do you think about these affirmative defenses? These defenses raised by the defendants, right? By the Laundries and Stephen Bertolino. What do you think about the reply by Gabby Petito's? It's very interesting. And you know what? The wording is interesting because it gives us clues. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. I'll share with you some of these documents here. Let's see. This is, let's take a look at this one. I think this is Roberta. Yeah. So this is Brian Laundrie's mother's, all right, let me back up. This is Gabby Petito's parents' response to Roberta Laundrie's affirmative defenses in the third amended complaint. Okay, what does all that mean? Third amended complaint means this is the third version. Gabby Petito's parents, the plaintiffs, have 3 times revised their complaint, so to speak, based on information that they learned in a deposition. So this is the most recent complaint. In other words, the allegations or the lawsuit alleging that Brian Laundrie's parents and their attorney, Stephen Bertolino, caused severe emotional distress. Therefore, they're responsible for the damages that Gabby Petito's parents suffered. Okay, that's basically what the lawsuit is about. And it's based on statements made by Stephen Bertolino. And in particular, the statement is on September 14th. So it was days before Gabby Petito's body, which is she's the daughter of Joseph Petito and Nichole Schmidt, days before her body was found tragically in Grand Teton National Park, and Brian Laundrie, her boyfriend, admitted to killing her. Stephen Bertolino made a statement on behalf, he alleges on behalf of his clients, the Laundries. He said the following: while they were looking, everyone was looking for where Gabby Petito was. The statement is, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. Well, you're going to find out in this response here that Gabby Petito's parents allege that Brian Laundrie's parents were aware, and Stephen Bertolino was aware that Gabby Petito was deceased. At the time this statement, search is successful, you're reunited with Miss Petito. At the time that statement was made, Gabby Petito's parents are alleging that the defendants knew or were aware that she was already deceased. So that statement was false, gave them false hope, and caused them severe emotional distress. All right, so let's take a look at the response, Gabby Petito's parents' response in particular, to the defenses raised by Roberta Laundrie. And by the way, this is the same, Gabby Petito's parents filed the same response to Christopher Laundrie. So we're just going to be looking at Roberta Laundrie's And we're also going to look at Stephen Bertolino's, their response to Stephen Bertolino's defenses, okay? So, says right here, plaintiffs Joseph Petito and Nichole Schmidt, by and through their counsel, file their response to defendant Roberta Laundrie's defenses. This is where Roberta Laundrie is claiming she has defenses, right? So let's go through it. The statements at issue, which is what I read, we hope the search is successful. You're reunited with Ms. Petito. Were made by the defendant, Stephen Bertolino, on behalf of himself and the defendants. So they're not saying here, which is interesting, they're not saying that Stephen Bertolino made the statements on behalf of the Laundries, his clients. They're saying Stephen Bertolino made the statement on behalf of himself and his clients. Very interesting. Why that's important is because Stephen Bertolino, the attorney, and this is rare, the attorney is also being sued by a statement he made. So I think what the plaintiffs are doing are covering themselves as to whether or not, if the Laundries are going to challenge whether or not Bertolino was acting as their agent or not, they're going to say, well, we're going to say he made the statement on behalf of himself and he made it on behalf of his clients. Very interesting. The damages caused in the complaint were not caused by or contributed to by the individuals or other entities. So Gabby Petito's parents are saying, okay, Laundries and Bertolino, if you want to say that the cause of our emotional distress is due to the conduct of other people, whether it's the media reports or whatever, Gabby's parents are saying, no, it wasn't caused by anybody else but you guys, but the defendants. So they're responding directly to Bertolino and the Laundries asserting that the cause was not the statement, it was based on what other people were doing. That's what caused your emotional distress. Very interesting. Number 2, the complaint sets forth a cause of action for intentional infliction of emotional distress. And they're claiming, Gabby's parents are claiming, we've met all those elements. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. That they're alleging that the Laundries and Bertolino intentionally or recklessly caused them emotional distress by making a statement that they're alleging was false. Number A here, the severe emotional distress, it's not just any emotional distress, it's severe emotional distress caused by the plaintiffs. They're pointing the finger at the Laundries and the Bertolinos. They're saying you caused us severe emotional distress. And they're also saying they're responding to the defense that the Laundries and Bertolinos are saying it was pre-existing. The severe emotional distress was already existing before Bertolino made the statement. Therefore, that's our defense. But Gabby Petito's parents are saying no. The severe emotional distress caused by the defendants, Laundries and Bertolino, did not pre-exist the actions of the defendants. In other words, they were not suffering severe emotional distress prior to the statement. It was the statement that was made that gave them false hope. That's what caused them severe emotional stress, not anything else that was going on. All right. So they did not have a pre-existing state of severe emotional distress at the time the statement was made. No. Gabby's parents are saying, no, there was no pre-existing emotional distress. It occurred because of the statement made by the defendants. B, plaintiffs claim that the defendants' increased emotional distress is actionable. So they're saying the defendants are the ones that increased our emotional distress to rise to severe emotional distress. Therefore, we have an actionable cause of action against you. C, the plaintiffs allege, and it's borne out by the evidence and discovery, that each of the defendants, not one, each of them, Christopher Laundrie, Roberta Laundrie, and Steve Bertolino, were aware that Gabby Petito was deceased when they made the statement. And the statement is the basis of the litigation. And because they were aware, that's what Gabby Petito's parents are alleging, that the defendants knew at the time that they made the statement that Gabby was dead. And they went and made that statement, which clearly demonstrates intentional or reckless conduct by the defendants. Why did they make that statement? Why did they give them false hope? That's what Gabby's parents are claiming, that they made the statement intentionally or recklessly, which caused them severe emotional distress. Because they were aware at the time the statement was made. What did they know? According to Gabby's parents, they were aware that Gabby was deceased at the time they made the statement. Okay, D, plaintiffs allege, and have also testified in their depositions, that Stephen Bertolino gave them false hope that Gabby Petito was still alive. When you make a statement, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. Wouldn't you conclude that she was alive at the time? That they knew she was dead, but they said that we hope the search is successful. We hope that she's reunited, giving them false hope that they would find Gabby Petito, their daughter, alive. Isn't that what Gabby Petito's parents are going to be arguing? They're saying that Stephen Bertolino gave them false hope when he made those statements. Under E, the statement issued by the defendants that it is our hope that the search for is successful, is reunited, was clearly directed to the plaintiffs. That's another element that Gabby's parents have to prove, that that statement was clearly directed towards them to cause them intentional infliction of emotional distress, to cause them to suffer severe emotional distress. Where the defendants have said in their answer, they've said, oh no, it was a statement to the public. We didn't intend to cause any harm. We didn't intend it to be directed towards Gabby's parents. But what Gabby's parents say right here in paragraph E, it was clearly directed to the plaintiffs, to the parents, as they and other family members would be the only ones reunited with Gabby Petito. Very interesting argument there, right? It had to be directed towards us because we're the only ones that are going to be reunited with our daughter. Very interesting. Okay, number 3. The defense alleged that their statements were privileged. Gabby Petito's parents saying, nope, not privileged. Not privileged statements. You're on the hook. If you cause this severe emotional distress, there's no privilege. You can be found liable. So up to the jury now. The jury has to make that decision. It's set for a jury trial. Okay, under 4, the conduct of the defendants was outrageous. They also have to show that the conduct of the defendants, Bertolino and the Laundries, was outrageous in that they issued a statement directed to the plaintiffs at a time when they knew Gabby Petito was deceased and could not be reunited with her family. And that's outrageous. That's what they're alleging. It's outrageous for the Laundries and Stephen Bertolino to make this kind of a statement, to give them false hope when they knew that their daughter was dead. It's a terrible, terrible tragedy. Number 5, they're claiming, they're responding to saying the defendant's statements, they didn't assert any legal rights, so there's no privilege there. And under paragraph 6, Roberta Laundrie, they're saying Roberta Laundrie and their response to Christopher Laundrie's affirmative defenses, they're saying that both Roberta Laundrie and Christopher Laundrie are responsible for their acts of their attorney, Stephen Bertolino, because he was acting within the scope of his authority in representing. And by the way, I covered this in a prior, I think I posted it on the comment section or on the community page, that there was no written retainer agreement, no attorney-client written agreement between Bertolino and the Laundries. But anyway, Gabby's parents are saying Stephen Bertolino, when he made that statement, he was acting within the scope. He was your attorney. Those statements were made during the course of your representation of the Laundries. Therefore, you're on the hook for what your attorney said. And even if it's outside his authority as your attorney, Roberta Laundrie and Christopher Laundrie ratified the actions of Stephen Bertolino. So they're on the hook. Either He acted as your attorney, or you ratified his actions as your attorney. Very interesting. Okay, and I want to show you something else here, and that is an interesting in Roberta Laundrie's answer that she filed to the complaint. You know, each one of the allegations the defendant has to reply, admitting or denying or giving a defense. I thought it was very interesting language here, and I wanted to point this out to you. We're only looking at just the highlight in particular. It's paragraph 30. Okay, so this defendant, so Roberta Laundrie, and I believe Christopher Laundrie filed the same response here. Roberta Laundrie admits that Stephen Bertolino released a statement on behalf of his clients. So she's saying that Stephen Bertolino acted on our behalf, right? Which is what Gabby Petito's parents are now saying, yes, he acted on your behalf. When the statement was made on September 14th, the statement was made following urging and demands to the defendants, some life-threatening, for information and a comment from plaintiffs, law enforcement, the press, and the public. So they're saying, the Laundries are saying, that Stephen Bertolino made the statement because there were demands made on in the urging of the public to say something. They could have said nothing. They could have said nothing. But they issued a statement. Stephen Bertolino issued that statement, and it's up to the jury to decide whether that gave false hope and whether it caused Gabby Petito's parents to suffer severe emotional distress. And if it did, then both the Laundries and Stephen Bertolino could be found liable and responsible for any damages. But what's really interesting here is keep reading. This defendant, Roberta Laundrie, denies that the defendants Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie had full knowledge. And look at that in quotes, full knowledge that Gabby Petito had been murdered by Brian Laundrie at the time when the statement was made, and further denies that defendants knew the whereabouts of her body. What's interesting is the defendants deny, the Laundries deny that they had full knowledge. Well, did they have any knowledge? Full knowledge? Any knowledge? What did they know? And if they knew anything, I mean, I think that's a pretty precarious statement to make here, right? Can you imagine the cross-examination of the Laundries and Steve Bertolino? What did you know? When did you know it? Prior to the statement? At the time the statement was made? What did you know? Did you know anything about Gabby Petito's whereabouts? Did you know anything about what Brian had done? Can you imagine what the cross-examination? They didn't have full knowledge. Well, did they have any knowledge? And if they had any knowledge, is that enough? Is that enough to say that that statement is false? The search is successful. You will be reunited. We hope you'll be reunited with Miss Petito. Very interesting. Okay, so what do you guys think? What's your analysis here? And again, the defense that is without knowledge as to Stephen Bertolino. What? Okay, so Roberta Laundrie and Christopher Laundrie is saying we don't know the full extent of what Stephen Bertolino knew at the time he made the statement. And they're also claiming that they did not intend the statement to reach Joseph Petito. Rather, the purpose of the statement was to provide a public response. So again, they're claiming that they didn't intend to cause any harm to Gabby Petito's parents. They just intended, the purpose of the statement was just to make a public comment, a public statement. But the problem is the words matter. And if a jury thinks that that statement is false, I mean, this case is going to be so difficult. It has such an emotional impact, right? Here's parents who lost their daughter, right? Murdered by the boyfriend, the son of the defendants. I mean, the sympathy, I mean, for the Laundries, for the Petitos, I mean, the tragedy, and you know, the jury's going to have to make a call here. You know, whether that statement was false. What did they know at the time they made the statement? Did it give them false hope? Did it cause emotional stress? Was that the cause of the emotional stress? Or did something else happen? Okay, so let's look at what Stephen Bertolino had to say here. Now, this is Actually, let me back up. This is Gabby Petito's parents' response to Stephen Bertolino's defenses, right? He's basically asserting the same thing, same defenses, but I wanted to point out some interesting here. Same thing that Roberta said, right? Same responses to Roberta's affirmative defenses, but here's where Gabby Petito's parents say something a little bit different. Again, they're responding to the privilege that he asserts. They're saying the privilege doesn't apply. They're saying that the statement that Bertolino knew at the time that she was deceased and could not be reunited. So why did he make that kind of a statement? But look at paragraph 6. They're saying that Bertolino is not relieved of liability. If he's going to claim that he was just acting as an agent, and by the way, that's why I pointed that out to you, that it was himself, he made the statement on behalf of himself and the Laundries. They're saying here that if he acted as an agent, he's not relieved of liability because he's on the hook by the fact that he acted at the command of the principal or on account of the principals. So in other words, if Bertolino issued that statement on behalf of his principals, who are his clients, the Laundries, he's on the hook for that. He's on the hook for the content of that statement, whether or not it's true, whether or not it caused emotional distress. He's not relieved of liability by saying, hey, I'm just a lawyer. I made a statement. I'm just a spokesperson. I made a statement on behalf of my clients. I didn't make the statement on behalf of myself, but that's not what Gabby Petito's parents are claiming in the response that I just went through. They're saying he made the statement on behalf of himself, so he's on the hook personally, and he made the statement on behalf of his clients. So he's on the hook of as making a statement as an attorney, and they're saying that even though you're an attorney or an agent of the Laundries, you're not relieved of liability. You're on the hook just as the principals are, just as his clients, the Laundries, are, if that's what the jury decides, and if that's what's proven at trial. So very interesting. Very interesting updates. I'm just covering to see if there's anything else. So what's your analysis here? I mean, do you think that a jury is going to find that statement, we hope the search is successful. We hope you're reunited with Miss Petito is clearly directed towards Gabby's parents? Or do you think that was just a public statement? I mean, I think they have a pretty strong argument there. The only one that would be reunited with Gabby Petito would be her family members, not the public. Maybe maybe that argument will have weight with the jury. Were there other factors that could have caused this severe emotional distress? Well, look at the video I did on the expert witnesses. Are they going to say that, other things could have contributed to the suffering that Gabby Petito's parents endured? It's going to be a very interesting trial. And I think, it seems to be under the radar at the moment. That's why I'm putting out these videos, because it's very interesting legally, right? So tell me, what do you think? Do you think those responses that Gabby Petito's parents made are going to have any weight to those defenses? Do you think that, Bertolino and the Laundries knew or were aware? And what does full knowledge mean? What did they have any knowledge of where Gabby was, or what did Brian tell them at the time? And then they issued a statement days before her body being discovered. I mean, what did they know at the time? Was Bertolino acting as their agent? Did he make the statement on behalf? I mean, it seems at this point, all the defendants are on the same page that Bertolino was acting on their behalf, right, of the Laundries. And so according to Gabby's parents, right, even if you're the agent, even if you're acting on behalf of the Laundries, you're on the hook. You're on the hook, and you're going to be responsible and liable if the jury finds that, and if they prove their case, that statement that Bertolino made caused them severe emotional distress. It's going to be very interesting case, very interesting trial. Okay, so simply my opinion. What's your analysis? Please leave a comment. Hit that like button. Please support my work by subscribing. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for supporting my channel.